Hello everyone. So today I wanted to talk with you about how to stay motivated as an artist. So I've had a few questions come through to me from various artists, and I also know that the whole concept of creating and being motivated to get into the studio is a common challenge that we face as creatives. So I have put together 6 of my suggestions and things obviously that I use as well to help give you some tips or some things that you can use to stay motivated as an artist and to get you out of your artistic slump. Okay, so the first one, and a little bit cheesy to be fair, is to check your why. Okay, because if you are I wouldn't call it a true creative, but if creativity, if being an artist is really in your gut, it is something that you believe that you are called to do, it is very hard to not create. Granted, there are seasons in your life where you may not create any artwork at all, but even if you try to sort of push that desire away, it will keep coming back up. And this has happened to me in my life. I went through art school, and then I set up an art studio, and then I paused from art for about 5 to 6 years while I managed a cafe, and then I worked for a chiropractor. So, but during that time, that whole tugging at my soul, I guess, or that desire to create was always there. So if you are constantly unmotivated to create, I challenge you to question whether being an artist is something that you really, really want to do. On the other side of that as well, you have to have a strong gut and a strong desire to create if you are going to make it as an artist. It is not an easy career path, no matter what people may try to tell you. I see courses out there now promoting things like being a professional artist in a year, even if you've never learned how to paint, and don't go to art school. And it's also becoming very trendy to pick up art and throw some paint on, and people just thinking that this is an easy career. And it's not. So you need to have a desire, a passion to create, as you have to for anything that you're gonna do in your life to push you forward. Okay, so first thing is really check your why and give yourself answer yourself truthfully. Is being an artist what you really want to do? If it is and it keeps coming up, then let's move on to some other strategies that you can use. So the second one is to set yourself a routine. But what I mean by a routine or a creative time, it's got to work for you. Okay, so don't go and think that you can, work like a 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, I'm going to be in my studio and I'm going to be painting. That doesn't work. As creatives, we may have, 2 or 3 hours where we're painting and the creativity's flowing and we're loving it. You don't need to work 7 or 8 hours on a painting stint to feel like you are producing your best work. Granted, I do that, and there are days, especially when I was still working a full-time job, where Saturdays I would work 12-hour days painting in my studio. But you need to find some sort of routine that works for you. So for instance, for me, now that I'm full-time, I probably spend 2 or 3 days painting in my studio a week. The rest of it is admin, it's business, it's marketing. I run an online membership, I run online courses, and I'm coaching other students. However, those 2 to 3 days, I try to separate my business from my creative practice. So I know that, say, Tuesdays and Wednesdays and Thursdays are my creative days. As to how long I spend in my studio creating, that just depends on the day. It depends on what's flowing. Some days I can, get through a work really, really fast. Other days I might spend a little bit longer working through some work. But you have to sort of give yourself some set days or some sort of structure, but not so much so that it's unattainable. Because if you're going to set really rigid routines, you're not going to want to create. It's kind of like the gym, going to the gym, all right? Like, you know, when people say, I'm going to start my diet on Monday, or I'm going to get up at 5 a.m. and train Monday to Friday. It may work for a couple of days, but it's not sustainable. So set yourself some sort of process. So when I was working full time, my routine would be to come home from work and paint for a couple of hours as soon as I got home from work. The reason it did that was because it didn't give myself a chance to go, oh, I'm tired, I can't be bothered. So I just knew that it was something that I wanted to do, and I was working towards certain goals like exhibitions and things. The other thing that you want to do is make sure that your space to create is set up for you to jump into. So what I mean by that is I have a space behind me where I create, and I also have a side where I do my business. So I can just jump into my outside, my paints are there, everything's accessible, it's not taking me a lot of time to set up, and I can get straight into my work. And that also helps if you have limited time. And again, that was something that I was doing when I was also working full time. I was making sure all my supplies were ready, and I knew exactly what I was doing when I was getting there. So setting yourself some sort of routine, however many hours or however many days you want to create that's right for you in your season. It is really important that you have some sort of structure to work around, but also be flexible in changing things around as well. The third thing is to get inspired. As to how you get inspired, that is absolutely up to you. So it might be like you go for a walk or go in nature. It might be travel, which is a fantastic inspiration, or going to the local galleries or museums, or like in Melbourne, walking around just the laneways and the streets and seeing all the artwork around there. So we're all inspired by different things visually, but sometimes getting out of our surroundings, giving ourselves creative time. I don't know, I do that a lot, but creative time to go and look and it's almost like as creatives we are visually taking photos with our eyes. So we're inspired by what we see around us. So go and look at new things, go on new experiences, and that's really going to help you get motivated when you come back into your studio to have some new ideas to create with. And the other thing you could do is a challenge. Now, you could give yourself your own personal challenge or your goal, or you could join like an Instagram challenge or something as well. There are lots of, painting a day challenges. I personally did a couple of my own challenges. So I've done a couple of 30-day painting challenges. One was painting a work a day over 30 days, and that really helped get the creative juices flowing and the ideas going. And the other one I did was 30 days, one palette. So that was exploring one sort of color palette over 30 days and creating a new work every day. So that's something fun, that's challenging, it opens new ideas, it gives you a little bit of motivation. Mine were personal challenges, but if you need more accountability, you could just go on Instagram and just search up painting challenge, and I'm sure you will find some other artists or groups that you could join that are doing particular painting challenges that you can jump in as well. The fifth idea to sort of help you stay motivated is to look at other artists or masters. So I draw a lot of inspiration from Monet. You may prefer more contemporary artists. You might like just scrolling through Instagram and looking at what other artists are doing, but often that's a really great way just to see what is possible in terms of creativity, especially when we're starting out, looking at our work all the time, to sort of look up and to see and to be inspired by an artist who is ahead of us is a fantastic way to get us motivated. However, just a disclaimer, there is also a way that can also demotivate you because of comparisonitis. I don't know if that's a word, but if you find that you are getting unmotivated to create because you are scrolling through Instagram or Facebook multiple times and looking at these other artists and wondering, why is their work so amazing? Mine's not so great. How did they get to where they're at? What's the point in creating? All of these self-sabotaging talks that we have, then it might be a season for you to pause from Instagram and or social media and to look at other ways for inspiration. I personally have done that. I don't follow a lot of other artists anymore because I did go through that season, so I can speak to that. So just make sure that, yeah, what you're following in your feed is encouraging you, and if you are a little bit sensitive and you do sort of have a competitive nature, be mindful of who you're looking for inspiration. And it's that whole sort of concept of, you know, comparing your chapter 2 to someone's chapter 20. Okay, that's not really going to help you. And the sixth thing that I have that you can do to sort of keep you motivated as an artist is to take a course or a class. So God bless Corona, because there are so many, and even prior to the whole COVID situation, there are so many fantastic online courses and classes that you can now take. Of course, you can also go into studios that are open depending on where you're living and take a course and a class. It's a great way to give you new ideas. It's also a great way to get you out of your box. You could even try taking a course or a class that may not particularly be in your style. Say for instance, if you're a realist painter, you could take an abstract course. If you've only ever worked with acrylic paints, you could take a watercolor course. So doing something that's new and exciting is really going to help get you motivated. And if you're looking for a fantastic course, I have my abstract florals course that is now taking new enrollments for our course that starts in November, and will teach you my process of how I create my abstract floral works. Okay, I hide nothing. I show my whole painting process. I talk you through it. I give you strategies of how you can use it in your studio. It's going to help open up some new creative pathways that you can explore in your work. So if you're interested in that, I'll pop a link below, but feel free to DM me about that. So just a recap, how to stay motivated as an artist. First thing you need to do is check your why. Is this really what you want to do? If it is, coolio, let's move forward. Step 2 is to set some sort of routine. Not so rigid, but routine enough that's going to help you to have some sort of consistent studio practice. Step 3 is to get inspired. So inspiration can come in many ways. It depends how you get inspired, whether that be walks, nature, travel, galleries, scrolling through different magazines, if anyone ever reads magazines anymore, shopping, going into things like Target and looking at prints and different ideas or colors or home decor. There's a whole lot of ways you can get inspired. And number 4 is doing a challenge. So whether it's, you know, like a painting a day challenge or a color palette challenge, or, you know, painting a particular subject matter multiple times, go on Instagram and have a look, and I'm sure there are many challenges there that you can join. Number 5 is to look at other artists or masters to get inspired of what, you know, your creative practice can move towards, but also being mindful of, you know, sort of comparisonitis there. If you're sensitive to that, just be a little bit careful with that. And step 6 is you could take a course or a class to refresh you. So I hope that that has answered some of your questions. I've had some questions emailed to me. I'm just going to check to make sure I've answered everything. But yeah, it is a process. There are a lot of different things that you can do. These are just some things that I personally do that help you. Just got a couple of questions that came through here that I'm going to answer. Are there any tips for avoiding burnout? Very good question. I haven't got burnout from my creative practice lately because I am doing it full time and not sort of juggling a full-time job at the same time. But I did get burnt out when I was obviously working full time and creating. And the key to that is to actually allowing yourself to take breaks. You don't need to be creating all the time. So if you're in a season in your life where you have other commitments, like I had a full-time job, we had people to support, we were running a boxing gym as well. There were only certain hours that I could paint, and that was okay. So making sure that you take breaks if you need to, because if you don't take regular breaks with your creativity, it can lead to burnout, and sometimes that's hard to come back from. In terms of taking breaks and resting, we all sort of rest differently. Some people like to rest by doing absolutely nothing. I'm more of an active relaxer, so taking a rest or a break from creativity for me might be, I don't know, learning a new, like taking up yoga, which I've done, or Pilates, or learning a new sport, or taking up a new cooking skill. So something that's going to keep me sort of working, keep my mind and creativity going, but in a different way. How to keep enjoying art even when you're working on commissions and don't have much time for what you want to paint. That's a really good question. There are a couple of things that are happening here. So first thing with commissions is you need to make sure that the commissions that you are taking on are things that float your boat. So what I mean by that is, just because your aunt, nana, brother's mother's sister wants you to paint a beautiful yacht for them, and you're a really good painter, but you love painting flowers, doesn't mean that you have to. So make sure that the commission is related to your style. I don't take on any commissions that are not in my style. So if someone comes to ask me to paint a portrait, it's not going to happen. All right, I'm only doing florals and I'm painting in my style, and that's what they get. So that helps the first part. But there is also, I do understand, working on commissions do require a different energy. When we come and create our own artwork freely, and it's something that we're exploring, it's different to when we're sort of creating for a specific commission that has constraints. So a way to keep enjoying that, take it as you will, is to charge more for your commissions, okay? Because they do require more time from you, and they also require more physical energy. So that's one way to move forward in that. But if you're only doing commissions and you're not having enough time for what you want to paint, you might have to pause from taking as many on. Or say, for instance, set a certain amount of commissions that you want to do that allows you to have that time to create your own work. The other thing you could do is you could put your prices up. So if you have a lot of demand for commissions, say for instance, you've got 10 commissions coming in that are just taking up all your time, if you put up your prices, it might mean that you only need to do 6 or 8 commissions to reach that same income level, which is then going to help you to go forward and do your own creative practice. So those are a couple of ideas there. And the other one is, do you have a set routine that you stick to with painting, or do you do it when it feels? I have a set routine. I'm a routine person that is flexible, but I am flexible in terms of how that day runs. So I have painting days, but for how long I paint and what I do in my painting sessions is flexible. And also, say for instance, something comes up on a certain day, then I can swap those days around and it's cool. So I have 2 or 3 painting days a week as to when I have the set days for them, but if I need to swap days, then I will do that. But I think having some sort of routine and structure, I used to be extremely routine and rigid and structured, which doesn't always help, but having some sort of routine in there is going to be really, really helpful. So I think that's us for today. There's no further questions, but if you have any questions, feel free to message me, and I hope that you found some joy and some gems in this little chat. And being creative is awesome. Everyone's journey is their own, okay? So don't feel like you need to be a full-time artist if being part-time is all you can do it at the moment in your season, okay? Or don't feel like you even need to move to be a full-time artist, whatever that means, okay? So take your own creative journey as yourself. It's your own creative path. Take your time, enjoy the process, because the process of creativity as well as the process of building a creative business takes time. So enjoy the ride. Easier said than done, but know that you are going to get to the end goal eventually. Alrighty, thank you.